Men who have been sexually assaulted by a woman. What's your story? I've been grabbed by so many old ladies at work, it's ridiculous. After the first couple it's halfway expected, so you get good at dodging it. But there's no one that'll take a complaint from a guy against an old lady seriously. I had someone grope me when they thought I was drunk and passed out on a bed at university. I whispered daddy. No, and they seemed too guilty to continue after that. My supervisor continuously asked me on a date and I declined because I was busy. So she scheduled me off. Came over to my house and told me I had no excuse. She paid for everything and I denied sex at the end of the night. I got fired the next day for something unrelated. Nobody believed me and I had to find a new job. There was a freshman girl who followed me around everywhere when I was a junior in college. Party at the apartment I share with 3 friends. I get incredibly sloshed and put myself to bed. She shows up really late, sober as can be, and marches right back to my room. My friends thought I made a booty call. I'm just barely conscious. She gets my pants off and blows me until I have an erection. She rides me while I'm doing absolutely nothing until I get off inside her. She stayed and the next morning I paid for plan B with most of what was in my bank account at the time. Rapes you and makes you pay for the plan B? Freshly turned 21, was at the bar with a couple buddies playing pool having a beer. This really haggard looking older woman comes up behind me. I still wore baggy jeans at the time. She slid her hand down the back of my pants and grabbed me ass. I turn my head to have her screech in my ear loudly. "Your mama raised you right, I bet I could show you the time of your life." The entire bar just stared at us. I just laughed it off and she walked away. Buddies thought it was creepy as hell, lucky they don't give me shit for it. If an old man approached a young woman at the bar and stuck his hand down her pants, he'd be arrested. I was at a bar and this woman I knew from college grabbed my dick while I was dancing with my girlfriend. Then the next day she messaged me on Facebook and I told her my girlfriend was pissed she did that. She said sorry and that she gets handsy when she is drunk. Fast forward 3 years and she is on the front lines of the Me Too movement, demonizing men and their terrible ways. I wanted to post a screenshot of our conversation to one of her Me Too posts, but I didn't want to be a dick. It's not being a dick. It happened a few times when I was in my party days. I'd get sloshed somewhere, find a nice quiet place to crash out, and wake up with a female friend on top of me trying to get things going. One particularly persistent incident sent me hiding under a pool table because in my drunk mind I was pretty sure there wasn't enough clearance for her to try again. I'm about 95% sure drunk me was right. I stumbled home drunk from a college party and passed out in my dorm room. That's some crazy. I was 10 and she was 16. My first cousin, who would invite me over to hang out constantly, went on for years. I didn't know it counted as assault until years later because she was a woman. A lot of my anxiety issues are rooted back to her. She is still one of the most loved family members even after everyone found out the truth, and is why I no longer attend family gatherings to this day. People constantly blame me and say it's my fault our family has tension because I won't be nice to her or forgive her or just try to get along. Edit. Thank you all for your messages. I went through and read them all and I really appreciate your support. In my situation it's hard to find that. I want to let you guys know that I am going to therapy and getting help and things are getting better for me all the time. I'm learning to cope in a healthy way. And if any of you guys ever need to talk to anyone, my messages are always open. I was about 6 years old, living in Colorado. My sister had a sleepover at our house with 2 of her friends. I woke up before everyone like I always did. My morning ritual was sneaking 2 Oreos out of the cookie jar and then watching mid-90s MTV on the floor with a blanket. My sister's 2 friends wake up shortly after. Both of them are about 3 or 4 years older than me. All I really remember is them trying to have sex with me, too scared and confused to make them stop. We were in the living room, under the blanket while this all happened. The only reason it came to a stop was the sound of my father clearing his throat. When I was a kid and one doctor jerked me off to check up on my health. It never bothered me until I got a new doctor. I hate doctors now. When I was 22, I went through a phase when I tried online dating for a while. I met this one girl who I met up and connected with over drinks and dinner. The typical meetup story? After 40 minutes into dinner I felt unwell. She insisted that she takes me to her place. I was in no state to argue. We get to her place and it was just a blur. I vaguely remember my clothes coming off and her forcing me to go down on her, and I think she blew me. I woke up the next morning and said something like, "Did we have sex?" Full stop. She said yes we did. Twice. I very quickly dressed and bolted. Fortunately I was able to Uber home. I am convinced I was date raped. I've never told anyone about it. Mine might not be as traumatic as some in this thread, but here it is. Typical teenager talking a big game. Gets girl into room in college. After some lackluster foreplay she pulls my shorts off to see what she's working with. I decide I don't want sex. Maybe just head is okay. This is the first woman I've been with. I'm terrified. She leaves for a minute. Comes back with 2 friends. The 2 friends held me down while she FK'd me. I was 18. I wasn't intimate with another woman for almost a decade. Crazy ex. She didn't want me to leave her. So she forced my dick inside her and wanted me to come in her to make her pregnant. Supposedly I'd still be with her if she got preg. What disgusts me the most are the people asking why do you complain. For some reason they still believe that men should always appreciate sexual acts. And that they'd always be wanted. Waitress at a bar wouldn't leave me alone and then grabbed my package. Was drunk as tea in my dorm. A girl I fooled around with came in. I told her repeatedly I couldn't. It was a bad idea. As I was sick and felt nauseous. She didn't let it dissuade her. I couldn't get her off me. I never reported it because hey, they barely took chicks getting assaulted seriously. No way in hell a drunk guy on campus was assaulted. She was an RA. I am a straight male who was sexually harassed by a gay man at work. This was in an office environment. I would constantly have my ass slapped because they looked too good not to. In my work pants sexual comments were made daily and I had a video sent to me on Facebook that appeared to be normal but instead turned out to be pornographic at the end. I asked the person to stop, however they laughed it off. They were very popular around the office and everyone liked him. I told my boss, who also laughed it off and said it was funny. My boss was female. I told her she wouldn't have the same reaction if it was me constantly slapping one of the other girls' asses, but she said that was different. I no longer work in that office as I was promoted and moved to another department. I was in a club when I was 19. Spotted a girl nearby sobbing to one of the bouncers she lost her phone. Being a sympathetic chap, I had a quick scan of the dance floor and saw an iPhone that had been kicked into the corner. Bingo. Picked it up and went and presented it to her. She was very happy, so then grabbed me and put her tongue in my mouth. Now I know that's normally a positive way to reward someone, but I wasn't attracted to her, so for me it wasn't very pleasant. When I stopped her and said that's alright, I just wanted you to get your phone back, she got pissed off. Slapped me across the face and walked off. 2 times. Once there was a girl in college who grabbed both sides of my face and attempted to tongue me. The second was at a concert, where I felt this tiny hand grab my ass cheek and really give it a good squeeze. I turned around to see WTF just happened, and a 50-something-year-old woman smoking a huge ass joint smiled at me. Lit up like a jack-o'-lantern. While in a college apartment, a roommate had a bunch of friends from his hometown over for the weekend. On Saturday I stayed in so I could study. Did that for a while and moved on to just drinking and playing video games while they all went out to the bar. I was pretty hammered by about 1 AM. One of the girls came back early, walked into my room completely naked, and proceeded to get on top of me before I could even put my controller down. I woke up the next morning and a friend I was playing video games texted me asking what happened because I was saying no and stop it while my headset was still on. It was sexual assault because I definitely did not consent. Plus she has herpes, so I could have been infected for life. But no one really cared because she was attractive and from out of town. She avoided me the couple of times I saw her in town after that happened. I had a woman roommate for a bit. I came home super drunk one night and couldn't get in the front door. She got me in. Took me to my room. Undressed me. Gave me a blowjob until hard. Put a condom on me and then had sex with me. I was nearly blackout drunk. I most definitely didn't consent. Woke up hours later with my pants off and a condom still on. I have brief memories of it. We had sex a couple times before, so I guess she thought it was okay. I don't feel angry or anything about it. But it definitely fits the description of rape. Work trip with colleagues. After our first night of heavy drinking at a local pub. Went into my hotel room to sleep. Dead drunk. A colleague asked hotel staff to open my room, and since they saw us together they assumed we were a couple. To my shock, she actually FK'd me and I couldn't remember much. She apologized. But I was not feeling okay about all this. 3 months later, she tells me she's pregnant. Had to be honest to my wife about all this and she didn't believe me. I even went as far as opening a case of RP with the police to prove my innocence. She admitted everything through court. 8 months pregnant. Facing jail time. Now I'm pleading with prosecutors to drop the case. Wife wants a divorce if that happens. Not as bad as some of the other guys here. But still assault. This drunk girl at a club really wanted D. But no guy wanted to give her the D. She wasn't that ugly. Bit overweight but had a pretty face. Problem was she was f-king annoying. Loud. Rude and just an overall asshole. So she started groping about half the guys in the bar. When you accidentally made eye contact with her she immediately tried to kiss you. After pushing away for grabbing my crotch again, I went to her friends to ask if they could take her home. Nobody did anything. Just because it was a girl doing that to guys. Not me. But my dad was repeatedly molested by his older sister and her loser friends when he was a kid. They legit treated him like their toy whenever she had to watch him. The way that bitch went on about how he's my Barbie bro the ear with an Emmy-seeking performance at the nurse's station in the hospital to try and get through despite not being allowed in while he was on his deathbed was disgusting. In high school, I was 14 and she was 13. Although I was quite small for my age and gender and she was over 6 foot. She knew I didn't like it. But every day she'd hug me against my will. Grope at me. Pin me down and touch wherever she wanted. Slap my ass. Even at times try, or successfully, steal my clothes, blah blah. Basically just every bit of sexual harassment short of rape. In public. 2. This continued for years until I eventually graduated. The school knew. The students knew. Teachers knew. But it was never considered an issue. Response from the teachers was just "oh how cute." Response from students was either laughing or just saying "dude she likes you, just go out with her." Not fun. Glad to be no longer going to school. And yes, she was of course never punished. Dated this girl for about a month. I had surgery on my testicle a few days after we met. So no sex for about a month. One night I got completely hammered and passed out. I woke up with her on top and her trying to get a limp noodle in a sloppy taco. Haven't seen her since. IDK if this counts, but when I was 17 I was sleeping with a 29-year-old for a few weeks. When I wanted to stop she flipped out and grabbed me over my pants and said it was hers, and I told her to FCK off and knocked her hand away, and she turned around, lifted her shirt and showed me the rug burn from the previous night on her back and said that I had marked her and I could get in trouble. F-king crazy bitch. Didn't talk to her for years, then she walked by when I was with some friends and looked like she saw a ghost. I was at a party when I was 18. Had never had sex before. Got stupid drunk and high for the first time. Most of that night is a blur to be honest. But this one girl, they had been crying since she just had been dumped, and I remember I tried to calm her down. She started kissing me. I pulled back, but was so drunk I could barely walk. She managed to lead me into a bedroom upstairs. Can't really remember that much of the night, except that she was naked. And she was on top. I woke up with my clothes on. Just my pants pulled down so my cock was out. She was laying naked next to me. The horror I felt was awful. That was my first time. And the whole school found out. And made a lot of fun of me. I was crying in the shower for days. But still had no idea that this was Wape until years later. I've been groped on a few occasions. But the one that still makes me fume was many years ago. I was 14 and just walking around Dayton, visiting with family. My cousin and I went off to explore and passed by a group of girls that were definitely older than we were by 2 or 3 years. As we passed the last girl, I feel a hand squeeze my butt. I couldn't muster anything but flip the bird and keep walking. I was already out of my element. A couple thousand miles away from home for the first time. And it was maddening and embarrassing. I had this one girl in my health and social class who would not stop grabbing my ass or otherwise groping me whenever she got the opportunity. It made me feel so awkward and gross, but she would always walk away laughing. It happened in full view of other students and teachers, and everyone either laughed with her or ignored it. The kicker though is a few months after this started happening, another guy grabbed her ass in a different class and she completely chewed him out. Screaming about how horrible and wrong it is to do that to a person, and all the same people who laughed at me were cheering her on and talking about how great she was for weeks. I can't remember the guy's punishment, but he got one and it was pretty serious. I'm only 15, but when I was in pre-K there were high school age girls who volunteered there, and they would get me and some of the other boys into the playhouse and play without gear almost once a week, but we never knew it was a bad thing. Not me, but my male friends in the cosplay community constantly get harassed and groped by women. A lot of them are mums with their kids at cons, who assume it's okay because they should take it as a compliment. This actually happens. And way more often than you'd think. A lot of butt groping when photos are being taken and forceful hugs so they can rub against them. Cosplay is not consent for everyone. Men should not have to put up with being sexually harassed just because they're men. A lot of the women think it's okay because I'm a woman. I'm harmless. I'm just being cheeky. They were flirting with me, or they're just in character? Same goes for character actors at theme parks and kid parties. I've started calling women out on it if I happen to see them being inappropriate. And I always get the response, "Oh, I'm sorry. Is he your boyfriend?" Full stop. Like that's the only reason I should be upset about my friend being sexually assaulted right in front of me. Work. Be better people.